In the words of Debo Samuel, it's real now, not only for the 49ers, but for all NFL teams. They're cutting down to the 53 by tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific time. But Crock and I are going to do it right now. Give us 17 seconds.
Back to throw Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown! The 49ers have won the Super Bowl.
And now your host, Ryan Hensley.
Now your host, Ryan Hensley.
What's up, Crock, man? How you doing, brother?
Have myself on mute. I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Feeling good. Nice workout this morning. Hit the sauna. I'm finna go on a little run after this. So, man, I'm feeling good, man.
Well, you continue to motivate, man. I always up and down. Like I'll hit it hard for like a few months and then I'll fall off the wagon. That's where I'm at right now. It's been like 2 weeks since I worked out. I got to get back on my stuff.
That ain't that long, man. I'd say just start looking at, 2 days a week. Can you get moving, get in the gym, 2 days a week and then, just kind of build off of that. I think everybody always wants to jump in and all right, I'm all in. And then you don't work out for a couple of days. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, I didn't work out for a couple of days. So now I'm just going to fall off. But if you just say, oh, okay, I haven't lifted in a couple of days, then just go back to the gym the next day, get a nice full body workout in. You probably feel better about yourself, get back in that groove.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. I think a lot of people, myself included, it's like all or nothing, where it's just like you could just get in a couple workouts a week and still be progressing. So that's probably good motivation, man. We are in the middle of or the beginning of football season, man. It's cut down time for the 49ers and every NFL team. So we're gonna go over the roster in a second. But how you feeling about football season actually being here now?
Man, I'm excited. I think that this offseason has been very unique for the 49ers. I say I'm excited, but it's been weird. You know what I'm saying? Like the vibes have been off. You have the Brandon Aiyuk situation. You got the Trent Williams situation. A team that's coming off of a devastating Super Bowl loss in overtime. It's been weird. It's been odd. I'm ready to start just so that a lot of the conversations that we're having, like we could get back to talking about what's happening on the field, talking about football, as opposed to, well, what's going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk? And we discuss that all the time. What's going to happen with Trent Williams? I think those things over the next week or so will sort their way out. And then we'll be able to talk about, man, how the 49ers do week 1 against the New York Jets.
Yeah, and we are going to be talking a little BA and Trent at the end of this, but I think the most exciting thing right now is the cut downs. Look, you're a coach. I don't know in football. I guess it depends on the high school. But some high schools, they don't do cut downs in football. But I know in basketball, when I coached for 10 years, that was the worst day for me. I imagine it's a little different for professionals, but it's got to feel kind of the same. I mean, they got to cut. What is that? What's my math like right now? 37 dudes today? That's got to suck to have 37 conversations. Like, hey, man, it's not going to work out. You do cut downs in football, and you've been through professional NFL. You've been through this day. What is it like, man?
It's devastating, especially for guys like me. I got cut before the final cut down. So, this is going back 2013. It's tough, man. It's, okay, hold on. Let me be realistic here. My situation was different. About a month or two prior to training camp, I lost my dad, and he passed away. And from there, like, football wasn't as important to me. I didn't even know it at the time, but after a while, it wasn't until I ended up being like the number 1 overall pick in this arena draft. And when I got drafted, it was like I snapped out of this fog I was in. So when I had got released from the Jets, it didn't even occur to me at that moment that, like, hey, you're getting released from something that's been like a lifelong dream of yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everybody's situations are different. For me, it was like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't really there. It's kind of hard to explain with me, but for most people, it is tough. You go through that. You don't know what's next for you. And, I mean, you hope that you're on a short list, which I was on a short list. You hope you're on a short list. You hope somebody brings you in. Maybe there's injuries. Maybe you end up on another practice squad, whatever the situation is. But you also understand the business side of it. and because of that, you can't take it as personal as I think maybe a lot of people think they do.
Yeah, tough for the players, tough for the coaches. I know some teams, they don't even, the coach doesn't even do it. But I think a lot of teams, I think the 49ers, their coaches, Kyle and John, actually have the conversations. Not fun, I'm
I
sure. I
got
mean,
cut. It was not a coach. It was
yeah,
uh some I don't even know who the hell it were.
like, let me get that
I don't even
playbook.
know who the people were. So
Yeah,
yeah, it ain't always like I know on Hard Knocks they show you they go in, they sit down with the coach. Yeah, man, we're just gonna have to let you go. That was not my experience.
which is even worse, man. That sucks. Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of the business, I guess, brother. Well, the 49ers are already making moves. They cut Matt Breida today, or they released Matt Breida today, which I was hoping, honestly, man. I thought Matt Breida looked pretty good. I thought they were going to maybe try to trade Elijah Mitchell and keep Matt Breida on the squad because he looked good to me. And Elijah Mitchell's always hurt. I thought last year of his contract, maybe see what you can get for him, but not the case. They got rid of Matt Breida. So let's go over the depth chart since we're talking running back. Let's start with
Real
the
quick, I
running
think
back.
they let go of Matt Breida now. Sometimes with veterans, there's two options here. You want to let them go early in the process so that they potentially can get picked up or become a priority for another team. So it's kind of like you give them that respect, but also you let him go if he clears and you kind of see where your roster is. There's a chance to either bring him back and let go of someone else because you remember there's certain players you need to make the initial 53. So then you can put them on an IR and they can return.
Yeah.
And then you bring somebody else like Matt Breida. So they could even release Matt Breida today and say, hey, if you catch on somewhere else, fine. But just know if you don't, we plan on keeping this guy on our initial 53, put him on IR, and we could bring you back. That could be a conversation they have with him.
Yeah, and they have now this year, I believe they changed the rule where they can actually put two players on IR right now and still bring them back. Whereas last year they had to be on a 53 in order to bring them back. But I think they have two. I think you can do it with two guys now. So
Mm,
probably two less of that, but still it's going to happen for sure.
yeah.
But let's go over the depth chart, or excuse me, the whole roster by position. Let's actually start with quarterbacks. I feel like the 49ers should keep two. And to me, that's Purdy and Dobbs, but seems like the 49ers will keep three. But what's your opinion on quarterbacks? What are they going to do there, in your opinion? What should they do,
Yeah,
and what are
I
they going
think
to do?
I think because that third guy doesn't take up a roster spot anymore, right? Or is it a game day roster spot? How does
Yeah,
that work?
game day roster spot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would keep two, but I expect them to keep three.
yeah,
And if they don't keep three, let's say they're like, all right, we really like Dobbs, what you brought, so we're gonna 100% keep you. And they like one or two of the other guys. They can release a guy, have two active quarterbacks, and have another guy on practice squad, whether that be Allen, Allen or Mordecai, the rookie.
mhm,
So
yeah,
that would be the direction I go in. Let me just cut.
yeah.
Let me keep these two quarterbacks that I really like, and I feel really good about my backup guy. I'll release Allen, and I'll release the rookie, and one of those two guys I should be able to bring back on practice squad and be able to elevate if need be.
I agree, man. That's what I would do. But you also agree that you think the Niners will keep three, though, right?
They will keep three. Again, I think they'll keep three.
Yeah.
I don't see them. Here's the tough thing: do they
Yeah.
keep three plus one on practice squad? Like that's the part right there where
Yeah. I, I
I'm
I
curious.
think they should just keep two, but I think you and I agree they're going to keep three. So it's probably going to be Brock Purdy, Josh Dobbs, and Brandon Allen. You think that's what they're going to do? It doesn't make sense
I
to me.
like Brandon Allen. I didn't watch the game live. I was coaching a high school football game during the 49ers Raiders game, but I went back. I watched all 22. I watched every play from the offense, and I thought Brandon Allen, I thought he did some really good things. It's a different experience watching all 22 as opposed to the TV broadcast. Like you don't see replays, you don't hear a lot of the commentary. You're just watching and seeing, okay, drop back, deep in breaking route. Was he on time? Was he not on time? And a lot of the conclusions you get to come to on your own. So, watching it from that perspective, I thought Brandon Allen played well. So I definitely think he's someone who Kyle probably really likes. I think Dobbs just brings a little bit more ability. And I always look at, if this guy has to start two games, how comfortable do you feel like he'll be able to hold the fort down? If you have to
Yeah.
start four games, can you go 3-1? Can you go 2-2 with this guy at quarterback, and it feels like you get a little bit more of that from Dobbs than Allen. But again, Allen does bring a lot that I like, and I think fits with this team. But I would still lean Dobbs.
And that's the thing to me is like, why keep Allen? Like, would Allen really get picked up by a team? You think he would if they
Yeah,
released him?
backup quarterback, and you look at some of these other teams around the league. Like, I mean, heck, I would keep him over Mitchell Trubisky right now. Who's a backup quarterback for who? Like Buffalo.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Raiders
get
could use
Buffalo,
him.
get Mitchell Trubisky out. I like him more. Now,
Mhm.
I think Mitch Trubisky had a lot of good um, value when you thought he potentially can be a starting quarterback. But now that we know he's not that, how good of a backup quarterback is he? And I think he's just a little too erratic for me. But also, that's me saying that without seeing Brandon Allen start a stretch of games like I've seen from Mr. Trubisky.
Yeah, me personally, man, I would release Brandon Allen and Mordecai and not care if one of them got snatched up. That's how, because I'd be totally fine with rolling with either one of those guys on the practice squad as an emergency. But Niners tend to keep 3. They have the last 2 years, so that's probably what they're going to do. Let's talk running backs. We just talked about Matt Breida was released. I think Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Masik, Isaac Garindo are all safe. So it sounds like they're going to roll with Elijah Mitchell. Sounds like that's going to be your 5, right? Kyle Juszczyk, Christian, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Masik, Mason, Isaac Garindo.
Yeah, that's how it comes off to me. Garindo, watching him, and I think, obviously the big return stood out in a lot of people's mind. Is like, oh, well, he had this explosive return. He's going to make the squad. And maybe that helped him solidify himself. I think when you draft somebody in the 4th round, you're just looking for any reason for this guy to end up being the starter. I mean, not starter, excuse me, make the 53-man roster. And maybe that kind of justifies it. And, they want to give him time. He missed a lot of time due to injury. But as a pure runner, I wasn't
He runs high, right?
I wasn't impressed. He's not as fluid as I would like. He's not as quick or dynamic. Like I thought the change of direction, like in my notes, while I was watching all 22, in my notes while I was watching, I put change of direction, question mark. Like, does he have the ability to change the direction? Does he have the ability to put his foot in the ground and get upfield now? I saw a couple opportunities that he could have put his foot in the ground, with that stretch. Like 49ers run that zone blocking where guys just kind of moving this way, and it's on you to kind of find that hole. And instead of like putting his foot in the ground and getting up field right now, maybe getting 3 yards, he kept pushing it to the sideline and got tackled for like a loss of 1, right? Like just like those little things where I'm like, does he have the ability to do it, or is he just not as versed in this offense? So it looks like that right now, and maybe a year from now, he'll understand it and get it a little bit more and be better suited to running this offense. But I think that he has a lot of ability in the sense of like on paper, but this is a guy that started one college game, wasn't the starter at Louisville, like he wasn't, and the other running back was better than him, but he tested extremely well. And you don't see a lot of guys 6'1", 220 pounds running in the 4.3s. Like you just don't see that. So I think that was his value, and we saw some of that on the kickoff return, but I didn't think that he was a guy I would say, oh, you 100%, you got to keep this guy on the roster. Or I don't even know if he justified keeping him outside of it, just he was drafted in the 4th round.
Yeah, it seems like to me he's their kick returner. His pad level is high, definitely. He doesn't get down low when he's running the ball, but as a kick returner, I think that's going to be his spot. So I think they keep him. So I think it's running backs 5, Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason, and Isaac Garindo. Cody Schrader, undrafted free agent that was kind of highly hyped throughout the training camp. Didn't really seem to work out in the preseason. They'll probably try to get him on the practice squad, and I think there's a good chance he makes it, along with the veterans Patrick Taylor, Keshawn Vaughn. Keshawn Vaughn actually looked good when I saw him run, but I think roster politics is going to prevent him from having any opportunities. So I think they're going to release those dudes. And they already released Matt Breida. And like you said, he might be on call, so to speak.
I'd probably keep Vaughn over Cody Schrader. And I was kind of wrong about Cody Schrader. I watched him at Missouri. I thought he was terrific. Heck, he won me some money on Underdog Fantasy a few different times. Like always just Cody Schrader, I'm picking the over. Oh, his higher or lower is 120 rushing yards. I'm taking the higher on that because like he was balling. And I watched the film and I'm like, I actually like the way he ran a little bit more than Garendo in college. But I didn't account for just the big difference. The NFL is just a faster game, bigger, stronger, consistently faster, even if you play in the SEC. And I didn't know how much that would affect him. And you watch him now, I don't know if he's athletic enough. He's not a big guy. Like if he had his same testing numbers, but he was, 5'11", 220, would I say, okay, well, at least he could do this. At least he could run with power. At least he can, and it's like, I didn't even quite see that. So, and it's still early and we'll see if he has other opportunities, but I wasn't very impressed with how he looked as a runner at the NFL level.
Agreed there, brother. Let's talk about a position like running back's pretty easy and deep. It's a really good position. One of the best positions on this team, I think, from a depth standpoint. Tight end, though, I don't know. I like George Kittle. That's it. I don't like any of these tight ends. None of them are like flashing for me. This is one of the hardest positions for me to predict. What are they going to do at tight end? They usually keep 4. They kept 4 last year. What are they going to do, man? They got George Kittle, and then they got to decide between Eric Sobert, Logan Thomas, Cameron Latu, Jake Tongs, Braden Willis, and Mason Pline. How many do they keep? Who are they, in your opinion?
Well, I think the biggest thing I've been looking at is who comes in and when. And one thing that I think Braden Willis has done very well is show a little bit of versatility. He's had his hand in the ground. Matter of fact, I want to say on the first play of the game, he was split out wide. I think, again, watching all 22, and I'm not even sure I have my glasses on, but a lot of times I look at guys like I know who's who by what they have on. Like I recognize how guys look in their uniforms. I don't know, it's weird, but I think that was Braden Willis split out wide on the very first snap. And aside from that, I saw him playing fullback. I saw them utilizing him in different ways. So it showed me that, hey, this is a guy that we really want to get in the mix. He's also on all their special teams units. So I expect Braden Willis to make it. Now, outside of Braden Willis, I think that I'll look at the tight ends. Sobert, I think they definitely like him. Cam Latu, I thought he did a better job catching the ball in this game. Matter of fact, this was probably like the most confident I've seen him looking while catching passes. Did he do enough to to make it to where, hey, we're going to keep you over Thomas, who they just brought back, and they can let him go and whatever they want to do with the tight end, but with Logan Thomas. But I don't think Logan Thomas quite did enough. Now I'm judging off of preseason. They watch him every day in practice. Has he been picking things up and getting better and showing enough promise to where, hey, this is a guy that we want to keep him around, and we want to continue to work with him. So maybe we could keep him as our tight end 4. This is a guy that we drafted in the 3rd round. That's a possibility. But if it were me, I got 3 guys that I feel like are George Kittle, Sobert, Braden Willis, and then it's going to be between Logan Thomas and Latu. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of those guys get cut.
Yeah, man. So Sobert, it seems like he's pretty decent at blocking. Braden Willis struggled in blocking, especially in this last game. You could tell the 49ers really like Braden Willis by the amount that he played and when he played. He played at the beginning of all the games, and like you said, he lined up at fullback. He kind of got cooked a couple times in the blocking game in that most recent game, which kind of brought his value down for me. But I think the 49ers still want him. So I would guess it's Kittle, Sobert, and Willis, like you said. Latu, believe it or not, had the highest PFF score in that game for receiving, which is crazy to think about, the guy who could barely catch the ball last year. One thing about Latu that people got to keep in mind is I think he played outside linebacker until his junior year in college. So he looks like a guy that's learning how to play tight end still at this point. And I think the Niners will consider that also the fact that they drafted him. I don't know. This can be tough. And then Logan Thomas, they released, but then they brought him back and signed him Thursday. So did they bring him back Thursday just to cut him on Tuesday? I don't know. this is a really hard one for me to predict.
It's the hard thing to predict is just a numbers game with everything. So they could have brought him back and told him like, hey, we're gonna bring you back. We'll likely let you go, and if you clear waivers or whatever, we'll bring you back on practice squad. Like that could have been the conversation they had with him. They know who he is and what he brings. We know he missed a little bit of time because of injury as well, but they could have a handshake deal in place with him, or they could say, you know what, we let you go, but we don't like what we've seen from some of the younger guys. They haven't been as consistent, so we'll bring you on to make the squad.
Yeah, and then Mason Pline, who I was looking forward to seeing in the preseason, the 49ers are hiding. I'm telling you, they're hiding this dude because they want him to make the practice squad. They didn't give him really any looks in the preseason. So I think that's their plan with Mason Pline. Release him, and then hopefully he'll make the practice squad, which he probably will. Another position that's really hard, Crock, wide receiver. And mainly it's hard because we don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk. I guess for the sake of this exercise, what do you want to do? Assume he's going to be there, or what do you want to be? We'll talk about him later, but
he's a 49er, so I think we have to assume that he's going to be on the squad.
All right. So let's assume Brandon Aiyuk's going to be there for the sake of this exercise. They just announced that Ricky Pearsall is going to be practicing today, which is a good sign. So obviously we know Brandon Aiyuk's going to make the team if he's assuming he will. Deebo Samuel is going to make the team. Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing. That's 5 dudes. Are they going to keep 6? I'd imagine if they do, it's Chris Conley. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's that simple. They did bring in a guy like Robbie Chosen who could be maybe a little bit more insurance for the situation with Brandon Aiyuk. But I didn't see anything from Robbie Chosen that was like, oh, you got to keep this guy around. And I was watching him run routes, and I was like, yeah, a little stiff at this age. He still has the ability to get on top of guys. Watching him run by a couple of guys, and it just wasn't in the progression for the 49ers. But definitely a guy that you probably on your initial 53 release and then see if maybe there's an opportunity to bring him back. And one thing guys got to remember with these veterans, if they make the initial 53-man roster, their salary for the entire season is guaranteed. So a lot of times teams try to let them go, and then, all right, come week 1, we can bring you back. And if we bring you back, it's basically a week-to-week contract as opposed to something that we have to keep on the books for an entire year. So I think, Robbie Chosen and Chris Conley may fall into that. Now, Conley, though, he might have a little bit more of the upper hand, especially if it has to come between those two, because, he's been with the 49ers now. He's been on and off of practice squad. He's been active in games. He's had to make catches in playoff games. Watched him on a deep crosser in this past game. I'd say that he has the upper hand if it's between those two guys. And I just talked about him as a receiver. Obviously, we've seen on the biggest stage his special teams impact as well.
Yeah, he's a gunner, right, on punt. So that's another benefit of having him. Hind is dirty for this one. Robbie not chosen. That's not cool. So that means Trent Taylor is not going to be on the team. I'm okay with that. One guy that really like, he's frustrating because when you watch Ronnie Bell, he blocks the hell out of people, man. Like Ronnie Bell and Kyle loves that. Like he's good on special teams and he is a hell of a blocker. He just makes all these catches look difficult. But it seems like Ronnie Bell's not going to make the team this year, along with Danny Gray, 2 49er draft picks, which is kind of tough, man.
Ronnie Bell, and I made plenty of notes on this. I did like film breakdown, and my thing for him, when I say film breakdown, I'm talking about him as a prospect coming out of college. It's the thing that stood out the most, more than anything, was his blocking ability. And for a guy who isn't like big, matter of fact, he looks even smaller in the NFL. But for a guy that's not this big receiver, his effort in the blocking game is tremendous. And I think watching the film, I'm like, well, I don't see a whole lot of special as a route runner or a pass catcher. And not to say he can't do those things. He showed at Michigan. He showed it in the preseason last year, having some big preseason games. But I was like, that's not the biggest thing for him. It's that blocking. And I think Kyle Shanahan really likes that. So I think that allowed him to make the initial roster. You drafted in the 7th round. Nothing is guaranteed. But he made the roster. He showed up here and there in different spots, caught a touchdown against the New York Giants. And you watch him this offseason. The tough thing with the NFL is understanding the business side of things. And it's a number game. And you're out there and you're looking and you're like, well, damn, I see this guy. And you're starting to count. Like, I know they're going to keep this guy. Damn, I can't mess up. I'm on the hot seat. And then it just starts, like getting in your head. You drop a ball. Damn, you start to get in your own head. Maybe you drop another pass. Damn. And then from there, it could be like this confidence thing. And you see other guys getting reps over you. Your reps are kind of dwindling. And that might be the case with him. So we saw, he had some opportunities to make some tough catches. Didn't quite make them. Not only would I let him go, I don't even know if I would bring him back on practice squad. Like, I like more of what I've seen out of Tay Martin than I have out of Ronnie Bill.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get these super chats. We'll go to O-line. Lawless Light. That's a good question. Would either of you be surprised if mid-season it looks like a rebuilding team rather than a Super Bowl contending team? Would you be surprised?
You know what it kind of feels like? And I started this show talking about how it just the vibes are off. The vibes are a little weird. It's been a weird off season. And if you go back to 2014, right, 49ers coming off of 3 straight conference championship appearances, and in the offseason that you start hearing some weird stuff about Jim Harbaugh. You're like, wait, what? The 49ers or the trying to trade him to the Cleveland Browns? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When they were talking about trading him to the Cleveland Browns, I'm like, that has to be some like fake rumor. And the whole year I'm thinking it's fake, but you see the way the season played out, it wasn't great. It was kind of weird. They started losing some games. They ended up going 8-8. And then after the season, they mutually part ways. And you start to hear that a lot of stuff going on was real. I'm not saying that this feels like rebuilding team, but I definitely feel like the vibes are off right now. And it kind of reminds me of that year. Hopefully this is much better. But again, that was a team, 3 straight conference championship games and a Super Bowl. You never went into 2014 thinking, oh, this is going to be a down year. Even after they just went and got Stevie Johnson and the defense was still loaded. And I don't know. It was a very odd year. You dealt with a lot of injuries. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I don't know. I do. Not saying I feel like it'd be a rebuilding team, but I could see it getting a little weird.
I mean, if the 49ers sign BA and Trent, we'll talk about that after the show. Then I don't think it'll go that route. If they somehow didn't, I think they will, with Trent at least. I don't know what's going to happen to BA, but if they didn't, for sure, it's a rebuilding year. Lawless also acts like, and will Kyle let Mason cook? What do you think? Is the split percentage wise, if there is on the split between him and CMC? Hopefully he pulls back CMC a little bit this year and gives Mason more love. It's really CMC who's been putting himself in, but Kyle's got to overstep that and not allow it to happen. I don't know. What do you think, Crock?
What is CMC gonna allow? Like, he's the one that runs off the field holding up the number one, like, all right, hey, you got one play, and I'm back in this thing. Kyle has always been one to really kind of ride the hot hand. I think when you kind of go back to what he had in Atlanta, you're thinking, oh, there's going to be a 2 running back system, and he's going to do all this. And I feel like for him, it's, hey, if I have everything in one guy that I like, I'm going to run that guy. And I think there is no better example of that than in 2022. And the 49ers had, it might have been 21, but 21, 22, they had Elijah Mitchell. So his rookie year, and he was going into this game hecka banged up. It was a Rams game. It was on primetime television. He had a knee injury. He had like this broken finger thing he was, dealing with. He had bad ribs. And Kyle, in a blowout, still ran him 27 times. So I think guys need to be protected from Kyle. Like,
Yeah,
he gonna run a guy into the ground if he can. As far as the split goes, I I see clips of guys that know more about the offense than I do that talk a lot about um Mason kind of doing some things wrong in the offense, whether it's how
he
he's
did on
either
Friday.
blocking,
Yeah,
missing assignments, those things. So I think everybody looks at how well he runs, which he runs well, he runs strong, he runs hard. But if that's all that he does well, maybe the 49ers are like, well, we need you to be able to do these other things, and you're not doing those at a high level. So, I don't trust to have you out there. Again, I don't
yeah,
know that to be. It's not like I've heard Kyle Shanahan say that, but
yeah.
that's what
Well,
people are alluding to.
on Friday, he ran a choice route, right? And he was indecisive. Like first, he didn't know which way to go, and meanwhile, Brock's getting hella pressured, and because he was indecisive, Brock couldn't dump it off to him, and he got sacked on Friday.
Yeah.
So those are like some of the little things you see with Mason. But I think you're right. It's really about CMC. He doesn't want to come out, but Kyle's got to overstep that. And Kyle talked about he might do that this year, so that would be good. Uh, Corey Soto says it won't be end of the world, but I think the Niners lose game one, regardless if Trent is back or not. Just defense wins the game. Brock Purdy 2 interceptions. You got a prediction on game one already, Crock?
I hope they win. You
Hey.
don't want to start the season
Yeah.
off like that.
Mhm.
I think the Jets too. This is a team that they're not playing any starters in the regular season. I mean the preseason. I think they'll need some time to kind of gel together. Your first game on the road, primetime television against a formidable opponent with the 49ers. I I love the 49ers chances in that type of setup, in that type of environment. So I definitely won't be predicting a loss for the 49ers unless there's no Trent Williams, there's no Brandon Aiyuk. Then there is kind of an opening for things to get a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, and either way, and I'll save it for later when we talk about it. Give me 17 seconds. Want to go. The rest of the roster. We'll be right back. Hensley Real Estate and Mortgage has been serving all of California since 2009. I would love to help you and your family. Whether you're buying, selling, financing, or refinancing, please reach out. I'd love to help. Visit RyanGHensley.com for more information. All right, Crock, let's talk O-line, brother. I think Trent Williams is going to be there. There was a report that came out this morning about Trent Williams saying that it could drag out into the regular season. I don't think so, personally. I think he'll be here for the game one. I think the 49ers realize they need him. So we'll make the assumption that he's here. He's technically on the roster, so he's going to be a roster spot anyway. This year, I have 9 dudes making the offensive line. I'm going to read them off to you. You tell me what you think. I think John Feliciano is going to be placed on the IR. He might be one of those 2 guys that they are allowed to bring back off the IR before even breaking down to the 53. So I think that's what's going to happen with John Feliciano. So I got Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brindell, Dominic Pooney, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, Jalen Moore, Jarrett Kingston, the rookie. I think he might make this team. And Nick Sakelj, I think he's getting a little love because his friend is Brock Purdy. I think he might make the team. Those are my 9. How do you see the O-line playing out, Crock?
I haven't paid a lot of attention to the offensive line. I mean,
Yeah.
the only guy I've really been watching, like for real, is
Mhm.
the rookie, and I've been just seeing like how he
Pooney.
does from week to week. Yeah, Dominic Pooney. Outside of that, the O line. I'd say this: heading into the year, the offseason and this season, they had an opportunity to bring back their entire starting lineup. And you felt like, man, if there's an opportunity for a young guy to beat one of these guys out, that would be awesome. And we saw Dominic Pooney. It feels like he has just a stronghold on that right guard spot. So, that's going to create competition more at maybe center if possible. But I just look at like, what do I think the starting offensive line is going to be? And right now, it feels like weird because if I have to go into the season with Moore at left tackle and McKivitz at right tackle, and then Aaron Banks, who's kind of been banged up, but then he's out there and he's kind of banged up.
Mhm.
I, outside of Dominic Pooney, who's a rookie, I'm not very confident with how things have shaped up. Maybe if everybody was healthy, I would feel a little different, like healthy, and you have Trent Williams out there. But right now, it's been kind of just an odd, like for a group that had so many question marks already from a lot of the fan base to now have even more questions. Because at least before I could say, well, hey, they're bringing back the same offensive line from last year, and they had one of the most efficient offenses, if not the most efficient offense in the league. And you can hang your hat on that. Then, oh, they added a better right guard, so you're even more solidified there. You could say like, cool, we're in the. Could you do better? Of course, but man, that's not the worst place to be. But with Trent Williams out and then the injuries that they've had at all these different positions, I it made a again a group that had so many question marks from fans. There's even more questions now, and that's been really weird to see.
Yeah, and then Drake Nugent, who's like, he's more like a center. I think I would probably look into possibly keeping him instead of Zakelj. I haven't been impressed with Zakelj at all, but the 49ers seem to give him a lot of love. He's in the first group out there. When they do make rotations, he's good friends with Brock Purdy. I think he's got it unlocked. I think that's who it's going to be, man. That's my 9. I think that's who it is. And then I want to give a shout out to number 60. Did you see the last play of the game, bro, on Friday?
Yeah, like the throwing the ball back and yeah,
Yeah.
all that. Yeah,
You see Sebastian Gutierrez, the Mexican national who was on the team. He was trying to put it in there, man. Did you see that?
yeah.
Yeah, I love that, man. And Pooney took his number. He used to be 77. Now he's 60, man. Pooney came in and said, I'll have that 77. So that's the O-line, man. That's what I think happens. I'd be surprised if it's something else. Let's talk the D-line. That's another tough spot for me to predict. Obviously, Javon Hargrave is going to make it. Did you see that play with Malik Collins? Just took on a double teams, moved both of them aside, and then made the tackle?
Crazy. And it's funny too. Some of our guys in our game on Friday, they're getting beat up on these double teams. And my guy Lavelle Hawkins, he's like, we had a coaches meeting on Saturday. Lavelle's like, I gotta see. I actually have a video of it in my phone. Him trying to take on a double. All right, and he's like, it can't be that hard. It can't be that hard. So two of our offensive line coaches were like, yeah, So they doubled him. They're pushing him back, and he's like, damn, it is difficult. And then you see what Collins did, where he's just like, get off me. Get off me. Let me get in and make this tackle.
Yeah.
That was some special stuff there, showing some real like grown man strength.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the type of things I wish my kids could do that at the high school
Yeah.
level. They're not that strong or physical, but it was great to see a 49er player do it.
Yeah, and I was really worried about the run defense and seeing that play because we haven't seen a lot of Malik Collins in the preseason games. I think that's the only time he's played. So I was like, man, what does Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott look like? We haven't even seen them. I'm concerned about the run defense, but that play right there by Malik Collins really got me excited about the possibility of 49ers can have improved run defense. So on defense, Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, defensive tackle Jordan Elliott. My best guess is Kevin Givens. That's 4. And maybe they keep T.Y. I do like the undrafted rookie. What I've been seeing, I think Evan Anderson is his name. And it's a shame Kalia Davis is another guy that they might throw to IR right now and be able to pull off, and he won't count against the 53 because Kalia Davis looked really good in his preseason game before he got hurt.
Yeah.
But I guess, man, that's it. Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens. Do you think they're going to keep T.Y. or anybody else?
I don't know, but I hope they keep Kevin Givens. He's a guy who every year he's always on that kind of like bubble. And I feel like every year he shows up and just does things to where you just see why he has so much value to this team. As like, obviously not someone who's going to get a ton of snaps, but if I feel like you want to get him about 5 snaps per game. And in those 5 snaps, he's going to definitely make them like super meaningful. So I'm rooting for him to continue to make this squad.
Yeah, I got a feeling they might just go with 4. I don't know if they keep T.Y. McGill or not. They might just keep those 4 and then have Kalia Davis come back during the middle of the season after he's ready. So that's probably what they do on D tackles, my best guess. Defensive end, man, 2 of these dudes got beat up. So Nick Bosa, obviously. Leonard Floyd and Yatir Gross-Matos both went out with knee injuries. I believe Leonard Floyd's day-to-day. Yatir Gross-Matos is week to week. And they both got injured in that game, something with their knee. So those 3 dudes are going to make it for sure. I have a feeling the 49ers are going to go with Robert Beal, but I think I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but when I'm watching these games, Jonathan Garvin keeps flashing to me, the UFL pass rusher. He keeps every game. He's flashing. So I don't know. Maybe he won't make the team. Maybe they'll go with Robert Beal because he's a draft pick. But I don't know how good this defensive end unit is. How deep they are. They're not very deep because if they go with Robert Beal, he hasn't done anything in the preseason. What are your thoughts on the D ends?
It definitely gets really slim. You sign two guys, and you feel like that created a lot of just depth. Not even just depth, but like, all right, these are our guys, and then now the people behind them, like the Robert Bills and those guys. Hey, man, you can kind of not take your time with developing, but whatever we get from you, we'll take that. But then you start to have these injuries, and Drake Jackson's hurt, and then now the two guys that you really prioritize this offseason, they're both banged up, heading into week one. It once again puts a lot of stress on Nick Bosa. And it's not that the 49ers didn't try to really address the D-line. Matter of fact, their first like 4 signings in the offseason, 4 or 5 signings were all defensive linemen. So they were definitely looking to bolster up the interior and edge rushers, and to have those guys go down on the same drive, that's extremely tough. So hopefully, a speedy recovery there. I think having this bye week in between preseason games and the first regular season game, I think that helps a lot. But you need Leonard Floyd out there. Just watching him, watching his motor, watching like the speed to power, something that he didn't really have coming out of Georgia, getting drafted by the Chicago Bears. And, I'm watching him and I'm seeing him push the pile. I'm seeing him get involved in the run game. I'm seeing the effort sack. Like, you need that out there opposite Nick Bosa.
Yeah, and if the 49ers claim anybody off the waivers, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody on this D-line, specifically edge. So, Niners are going to be watching that waiver wire at the defensive edge position for sure because Nick Bosa's great. Leonard Floyd's good when healthy, and he's had a history of being healthy. This is and again, he's only day-to-day, so he'll be fine. But your tier growth models week to week. Robert Beal didn't do anything for me. Jonathan Garland flashed a little bit, but it was nothing amazing. Alex Barrett had 1 sack, nothing amazing. Sam Okayananu, if I'm saying that right, had 1 sack, but nothing amazing. Same with Austin Bryant. Like you said, Drake Jackson's on the IR. I expect 49ers to be paying close attention to that waiver wire at the DN position. But if I had to guess what the Niners to do, is Bosa, Floyd, Matos, and Beal. Yes. I don't know. That's another tough one for me, dog.
Yeah.
Here's another one, brother, that's interesting for me is linebackers. I think the 49ers have a good opportunity to go young. Drake Greenlaw is another guy that I don't know what they're going to do with him. Just he might make the 53 and then they put him on now, or he could be one of those 2 that we were talking about where they can put him on now.
You said Drake Greenlaw, right?
Yeah.
I bet he starts on the pup list.
Okay. You think he'll be back in time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he might just have to miss 3 or 4 games or whatever it is when you start on the pup list, but
It's
just
4.
give him that extra little time to, get 100% ready, and they'll open up that window for him, and then eventually he'll return.
Okay. Drake Greenlaw.
And that was the plan. Like, remember, Eric Kendricks didn't come because their whole thing was, yeah, we'll sign a linebacker, but we're only signing a guy until not only signing. We are looking for someone to step in and be a guy until Greenlaw comes back. Like that
Right.
is, it's not like you're taking his spot. You're just filling in until he's ready. And Kendricks is like, let me go to another team. So they fully expect Drake Greenlaw to be out there.
Okay. So Greenlaw and the pup. You got Fred Warner. D Winter's injured his ankle, man. I think he's getting an MRI today, which is unfortunate because he was one of the players I was excited about during the preseason. So we'll see what happens with him. But assuming he's fine, I'll just go that route. I would imagine he makes the team. Fred Warner, D Winters, Devondre Campbell. To me, Curtis Robinson has to make this team based on how he's been playing in the preseason, dude. He looks good to me. Then they got what you laughing at? What's
no, I've enjoyed watching him play, man. I've enjoyed watching him in coverage and watching him in, with his run fits, the effort. He shows good athleticism. I know he's had some defensive back experience playing in college. Like he's a guy that I really like, and it was just weird because you see him run around 36, and it's like, oh, there's no way that they take this guy serious. And I think he's been better than Gosh, why am I blanking on his name right now?
Jalen?
The Jalen, yeah, Jalen Graham.
Yeah.
I think he's been better than Jalen Graham.
Yeah.
Out there and I've liked him. Campbell, I like Campbell. He hasn't done anything that like super jumps out, but he's been consistent. Hasn't been terrible or anything like that. But yeah, Curtis Robinson, I've really liked him.
Yeah, man, I think they have an opportunity to go young here, right? Like Devondre Campbell, like he seems like he doesn't look very fast. That's one thing I noticed. Like I was surprised about his speed. I guess I'm comparing it to Warner and Greenlaw, what I'm used to seeing from those guys. But I'm pretty sure he makes it. He was brought in to be that guy. And then Tatum Bethune, the rookie, he leads the team in tackles during the preseason. I was impressed with him too. It was like the 49ers have
I
a
want to say he
decision.
had like 10 tackles in one of those games too.
Yeah, I think he had 25 total, 3 games. So to me, they got a decision to make. Crock, like Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles has been on this team for a long time. We know what he is as a linebacker, and he's just like a C linebacker. He's good on special teams. So to me, the 49ers have to decide with Dre Greenlaw and Pup and coming back. Last year they kept 6. Do they keep 6 again, or do they keep 5 with Greenlaw coming back? And who are those guys? Are they going to go young, or are they going to stay with DFF and roll with him, even though we pretty much know his ceiling? Personally, I feel like they should go young and give guys like Robinson and Bethune a chance. What do you think? Do you think DFF makes the squad?
Just from the business aspect of things, I would probably go with the veteran for this and then release Bethune and Robinson and see which guy I could bring back on the practice squad. Like that's what I would be hoping. I feel confident just going in with younger guys. I already have younger guys with Jalen Graham. We'll see what happens with him. D Winners, and then you have like, the Fred Warners and stuff. But let me get some more veteran presence out there with Campbell and Bethune, Robinson. I would love to bring one of y'all back. I'll just wait to see which one clears waivers.
I would not be surprised if that's what they do. But I think Curtis Robinson deserves to make this team, if I'm being real, over a lot of them dudes. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Niners decide to go the route you said. Melvin's talking about there's a third QB rule change being reported right now. I'm not sure what that is. So I'll look into that after the show. But thanks for giving me the heads up. Safeties. So we just got some kind of word on Huff, where some people, I think there's like some source reports, who knows what it's worth, but they're thinking Hufanga might have to start on the pup because he's not quite ready to begin full football activities. He's been cleared to do individual football workouts on his own, but they think it's not looking good for him for week 1. That's what somebody's source is reporting. So if that's the case, you got Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, George Odom, and if that's true with Huff, I'm going Jalen Mahoney, but I know they brought in Tracy Walker. You're a DB expert. If Huff is on the pup, man, who's that fourth safety that they keep?
I always like Taylor, and I know they just let him go. I'm looking at the safety room. I'm going Jair Brown, obviously Mustafa. Hawkins got released and put on IR, so that happened with him last year as well.
It's really Walker versus Mahoney.
Is Walker versus Mahoney, and they might lean Mahoney. Walker, a veteran. I've watched a lot of him, playing. I want to say when he was in Detroit, playing ball. But let's go with the rookie, man. Continue to kind of build on with some of these younger guys. Try to save a little money too, wherever you can. So if you have to pay a guy, $800,000 as opposed to $1.1 million or whatever that veteran is, like all those things add up.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. If they put Huff on pup, it's going to be Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, George Odom, and my guess is Jalen Mahoney. Tracy Walker is supposed to be the veteran they got from where, like Detroit or something. Hasn't looked good at all in the preseason games. Mahoney's really flashed for me. So I think that's what they do. Corner, man, this is your realm, dog.
I can get some information on Mahoney too. I'm pretty sure he played with my guy, Jeremy Lucien, who I trained, and he went to Vanderbilt with Mahoney. So get some information on him. See if we try to get him on a podcast or something.
That would be dope. I would definitely tune in. All right, man. This is your spot, brother. Charvarius Ward, Diameter Lenore, Ronaldo Green, Isaac Edom, Rocky Sin, Darrell Luter. Those are my 6. Last year, I think they kept 5. But those are the 6 I would keep. I would keep 6 dudes. And then you got Sam Womack, Chase Lucas, Ambry Thomas is gone to the IR. So, man, Womack
Repeat
was
your
so
guys again.
my guys I would keep are Ward, Lenore, Green, Yeadham, Yasin, and Luter. And unfortunately, Womack he was doing some really good stuff on Friday, but then towards the end, I think it was at fourth quarter, I don't know what happened. He just watched his guy just catch the ball and run into the end zone. I don't know if you saw that. I'm like, dog, what are you doing?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
It was a weird play. He was a nickel. A lot of times when you're playing zone coverages, I teach my guys second guy through the zone, you have to run with him. And it was like the second guy through the zone, and he ended up going up and running a vert, so he was behind. And then as he was catching up, like the ball was thrown kind of in a weird spot for him to like react to. Ideally, you just don't want to be in that position, but it was like the receiver was able to adjust, or running back, whatever that was able to adjust to it much better than Womack. But I thought Womack, I watched him in the slot a lot. Remember, this guy started 2 games as a rookie in the nickel spot. I liked him much more on the outside. And when I watched him in this preseason game play on the outside, I'm like, okay, get to watch him on the outside. What does that look like? Look much more comfortable, much more confident. And they've been forcing him to be a nickel since his rookie year. But it almost feels like kind of what they did to like DJ Reed, where DJ Reed was drafted out of Kansas State. Smaller dude, right? Both of these guys 5'9", so they're not big corners. Womack has really long arms, so he still has length there. But it's like, oh, we're going to draft you and we're going to put you at this position you haven't played. Put Womack in this slot. DJ Reed, they put in the nickel and they made him play safety. 2 spots he didn't play. He always played corner. And even going back to college, like DJ Reed, junior college, Reed had played corner. And then you watch DJ Reed go to the Seahawks. He excels on the outside, earns a big contract, goes to the Jets, and now he's one of the better tandems in the NFL with Sauce Gardner. Womack, he just looks to feel more comfortable and confident and better on the outside, and they continue to play him inside. So I don't know if that hurts him. Maybe they're not looking for that from him, but I would say if he were to make the team, like play him on the outside. That's where he looks best. But we'll see what happens with him. I don't think it's looking too good for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. I mean, he did have 3 PBUs in that game, but that last play, I was like, dog, that's a glaring mistake right there. That's not good when you're trying to make the squad. But we know Ward and Lenore and Green are going to make this team. We know Yeadham is going to make this team. Really, Rock Yashin and Luter, do they both make the team? How do you feel about those 2 guys? I'm curious.
Rocket Sin is a guy who they gave a lot of action to. There's games where he's the first DB on the field, at cornerback when the starters aren't playing. It felt like they trusted him a lot. Some of those, like sometimes when they do that, are they, just giving him every opportunity and then they'll let him go and maybe he has a bunch of film for somebody else, which is, he's played a lot of games in the NFL. But I was more comfortable with Rock Yassin over Luter if I had to choose between those 2 today. But Luter being a 5th round pick from a year ago, missed time, but then he came back. He was active. He was active during the Super Bowl. Do they lean with the guy that just has been there over a guy that got the more experience, more reps, even in training camp? That's a big question to me.
When you were a corner, dog, were you a corner that could tackle? Because I'm asking you this because when I watch Rock Yassin, he's like the most delicate tackler I've seen. Like, and maybe it's just in these games, bro, but he was just like begging to drag people down. Like he looked like Deion Sanders out there tackling, and Deion was not a good tackler, man. Deion was one of the best, probably the best corner that ever lived, but he was not trying to hit nobody. What was your game like, man?
I'd say this. A coach once told me, we pay you to cover, not to tackle. Obviously, you have to tackle, and that's a big requirement of me and for my young DBs. It's a mindset, and I was somebody early on that like I could tackle, but I wasn't like this big hitter or anything like that. And then my rookie year in the Arena Football League, I was playing with these other DBs who they were all big hitters. And then we had this like reputation for being a big hitting safety. And I looked the part, dreads, I was a big corner, 6'1", 6'2",
Mhm.
195 pounds, right? So I looked like a guy that hits, but I wasn't a hitter. And
Yeah.
throughout that year, I grew into being like a hitter and just being like, F it, I'm just gonna throw my body around. And from
Mhm.
there, I was much more aggressive, even when you go on film. So, with Luter, it might just, he might have to just get that mindset. That mindset I gotta click like how much of D Winters flying around, Fred Warner flying around, how much of uh Mustafa flying around, hitting people, how much of that can you watch and not say, I need some of that action too. And that's
Yeah.
what happened with me. That was the switch that went on for me.
Did I ever tell you that I lived with a NFL corner when I was 16? I moved out of my mom's house when I was 16, and I moved in with a family down the street. And the dad, his name is Jim Summers. He played for the Broncos in the 70s. And in 1979, he went and hit a fullback, separated his shoulder, and could never use his arm again.
Damn.
Permanently damaged. Yeah, him and his family were kind enough to let me live with them my last year or so of high school. But yeah, man, I don't know. I thought of that because I was thinking about hitting. When you're a corner, a lot of these smaller dudes, man, it's a little intimidating. You see like a big running back, fullback, tight end coming out your way. It's when I
This
watch
dude's
Rocky
big,
Sin.
man. You gotta chop that big ass down. That's what you gotta do. Throw
Yeah,
your body, roll, chop them down. That's why
yeah.
when people talked about the Nick Chubb tackle being like dirty when he
Mhm.
like tore his ACL, they're like, oh, he threw his back at him. Look, man, when these big dudes are running full speed at you, no matter what, like whether they're running full speed or if somebody's on them, in your head, once you make that decision, I got to get this guy to the ground. And there's nothing dirty about it, but how do I get him to the ground while still trying to protect myself as well? And sometimes you go on at different angles or anything, and it's not to hurt the guy, but it's just to, you know, do your job, get him to the ground. I never went into making a tackle thinking, okay, let me get this guy to the ground in the most polite way possible. Like that never crossed my mind. It
Yeah.
was just, it's either me or him, and I don't want it to be me. So let me get this dude to the ground, however I got to do it.
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up when I was watching Rocky Sin, he was not I mean, maybe he can. It's just in that game, he was not trying to tackle anybody. Like he was just
Rocky
trying
Sin
to
or Luter? Because you were saying Luter earlier.
Rocky Sin was trying to
Okay,
pull dudes down instead of like tackling them. And which is one thing I love about Demo is that he's not scared to hit anybody.
yeah.
That's really what I like about Demo. He'll hit
He
he'll
gonna
hit
throw his
your ass.
body around. Not the
Yeah,
biggest dude either. He gonna throw his body around though.
yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, man. So that's it, brother. Obviously, Jake Moody, Mitch Wisnowski, Tabor Pepper. That's our breakdown of the 53. Niners are gonna start making moves. They already did this morning. So we're gonna have to keep our eyes peeled and see what happens. Before we get out of here, though, let's talk with Trent Williams. That's a little easier. What do you think is gonna happen with Trent over this next week or so?
I think they figure out a way to get the big dog in there. They
Yeah.
got to, and I think that's an easy one. Make more money guaranteed. I'm not a capologist or anything like that, but whatever you got to do. Not saying you have to do something. You not saying like, oh, he wants 30 million a year. Give him 30 million a year, but whatever he's asking for, I think he's more than worth it. So.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, man. I think the Trent thing's gonna happen. Hopefully it happens soon so he's in shape and ready to go week 1. Brandon Aiyuk, man, I don't know. If you would ask me last week, I said 60-40, he's gonna stay. I don't know if I feel so confident. I don't know if I'd give it 60. I'm more like 50-50. I don't know, man. Like I'm hearing a lot of crazy things when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk. It's very contentious with that group. They made him go to that game. He didn't want to go to that game on Friday, and they made him, or they said they're gonna fine him. So they made him go to that game. He shows up wearing all black, no Niners gear. I don't know, dude. What's gonna happen with BA, dog?
I'm surprised they haven't fined him for the like when I was with the Jets, the stuff we wore, like it had to be like team and NFL issued. I couldn't even wear like this Jets shirt. Like people like Jets fans would send me like certain shirts and they'd be like play like a Jet and have whatever it was. And it's like, nah, that's not NFL issue, Croc. You can't wear that. So like whatever all black his stuff he's wearing that doesn't have 49er logo on it, I wonder if he's getting fined. They fine you for everything at the NFL level. I wonder if he's getting fined for that. But hopefully this stuff, gets worked out soon. Like I understand his frustrations. I understand the team's frustrations. I wish that this was something that they would have handled in March. Like if you saw that there's a certain number you don't want to go past and you see what kind of the market is, and then you see this market start going up, like let's handle this now. We're either going to sign them and extend them at a number we both feel good with, or let them go and trade them and let's make a swift decision on this, like they did with DeForest Buckner. Like George Kittle, it's like they probably knew we always know we are going to sign them. Debo, we will make this work. Nick Bosa, we're 100% going to sign him, right? Like those, you don't have to have the conversation, but whatever the conversation was with DeForest Buckner, it was like, this is our number we feel comfortable with. That's where we're at. If he feels like he can get more elsewhere, go seek that. And they made that happen like the day before the new league year.
Yeah.
I wish they would have did something like that with the Aiyuk situation. They probably would have got more value. He would have had much more suitors, because now you're not, your roster is not finalized or anything. Your roster is still like, all right, we're putting it together. What's our offseason going to look like? Okay, we're going to allocate money to. And I think right now they definitely lowered the options of people that are willing to trade with them and the options of where I could go that would have the money right now and the capital right now to make it work. So I ultimately they played a hand to where he's just gonna have to play on his 5th-year option, and we'll see what happens with that.
Percentage wise, give me a percentage breakdown. What do you think is going to happen by percentage?
I don't want to like hoe up on this, but it felt 50-50.
Yeah, me
and
too.
it never felt 50-50 to me. It's always felt like, I always thought there were 3 different options. There were trade him, play on 5th-year option, sign a new contract. Like those were the 3 options. And I thought that him playing on the 5th-year option was higher than anything else. And I gave it like a 10% chance that he would get traded. So for me to say 50-50, I mean, it really feels like a flip of a coin. This is the time too. You got cut downs about to happen. Teams are going to start looking at, all right, how comfortable do we feel with this receiver room? Is this the time should we go pursue Brandon Aiyuk? I think those conversations are starting back up, probably around the league. Yeah. When initially this was happening, you got your guys, you're heading into training camp, you're focused on that. But now everybody's sitting back and they're looking at, okay, what things can we do to get better for week 1? Whether it's a practice squad guy from another squad or maybe even a Brandon Knight.
Yeah, man, I agree. I feel 50-50 right now. I don't feel great about it, that's for sure. Real quick, my schedule, I'm 9 a.m. all week long, multiple different guests. I don't know if you guys saw the show with me, Grant, Jesse, and Coach. Last Thursday on Grant's channel. This week is going to be on my channel. So make sure you guys are liked and subscribed to my channel, and you tune in Thursday evening along with all week long at 9 a.m. Croc, what's going on your channel, sir?
Oh, man, as soon as we hang up here, I got a live stream going. I'm going to, watch a little bit of film, talk a little bit of 49er football. I'll be back Wednesday as well. And then I'm not sure I'll be back this Friday, but come next week, I'll probably have some guests from, some New York Jets people coming on live, some behind enemy lines type stuff. And we'll really get into it. Y'all know me. The storylines, all that, whatever. But once you start getting to some real football and we could talk about what's going on the field, I get more and more excited about that. So we're going to be picking back up. But yeah, I'll be, as soon as we hang up here, if you're not watching this on YouTube, go to my YouTube channel and we'll be going live. Just watch a little bit of film, a little bit, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, that's different from a lot of the stuff that people are putting out. I always enjoy the breakdown. So if you guys are watching on my channel right now, after we end this stream, which is going to happen right now, go check out Croc's channel and go watch the film breakdown. Croc, man, good to see you, brother. I appreciate you coming on. All right, you guys. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching the Ryan G. Hensley Show. Your support is greatly appreciated. Please visit RyanGHensley.com to learn more about me and all of my businesses. Whether it's real estate, credit repair, solar, whatever it is, you can find out more about me on that website. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you know when we go live. Thanks again for